Hi guys, Cody Davis here, 10-0 undefeated professional boxer from Wales. Just finished my podcast with Ace Podcast Nation. Subscribe at youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation for the best content on all the Welsh boxing shows, all Welsh sport and Welsh boxing and sport in general. All the best.
Defending champion, welcome Danny Batten.
Hey guys, I'm Si and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Danny Batten Fight Show. This is episode number 49. We are talking last night's UFC, bit of MMA news, just myself and Danny this evening. But you can check out all the various incredible shows and series, expert analysts, exclusive interviews and more in video format at youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation, or you can get the audio versions at all the usual podcast and radio platforms. But with no further ado, you can meet my co-host, my friend, ex-Cage Warriors champion, UK MMA legend, Mr. Danny Batten. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, Si, and hello everyone else. Another treat. I really enjoyed this week's UFC. I've been enjoying them all pretty much, but yeah, it pulled up some surprises because I know they had some difficulties with some late pullouts, but they still pulled off a pretty good event.
Yeah, they lost 3 fights this week, 2 of them in the last sort of 24 hours. But yeah, it was a good card. So some negative news to start off with. We got first of all Mark Coleman, the first ever UFC heavyweight champion, was hospitalized with a heart attack this week. So obviously, we'd like to wish him well. I don't think we'd got to that when we were doing those retro reviews. We hadn't got to the first heavyweight champion.
Yeah, I don't think we had, no.
Yeah, so I think he beat Dan Severn though at UFC 12. I forget off the top of my head which what number we got to, but we were getting there. I think if that might have even been the next one actually, but yeah. Obviously forever etched in history as the first heavyweight champion, so we wish him all the best. 2020 has been a shocking year for just deaths, bad news and everything of our kind of like celebrities, heroes, iconic figures. Another couple of other, unfortunately, bits of bad news. Jack Shaw's fight is off, so he's not going to be fighting in 2020 again now, but I'm sure he said himself he's got big plans for 2021. But as a Welshman and a proud, a big fan of the UK fighters, disappointing end to the year of what's been a sensational year for him, mate.
Yeah, absolutely gutted. But then saying that, look, he's such a young man, is still really making huge improvements in his game, and the longer he's in training, perfecting his skills, each time he fights, he's just going to show a new Jack each time. So, yeah, I'm sure he'll turn this to his advantage.
Indeed, and I'm pretty sure we saw another Welsh prospect born yesterday in the UFC, which we'll get to in a minute. She was impressive. And then the final bit of terrible news, Oban Elliott announced on his various social media platforms that he won't be fighting at the upcoming Cage Warriors fight, and he won't be fighting anytime soon. During some tests on October the 16th, the doctors found some abnormalities with his heart. It's a very complex situation at the moment, so he's got to undergo some tests to investigate over the next couple of months, and that'll be before any decision on fighting is made again. And ultimately, we all love MMA and the fight game, but there's bigger things and more important things, and I just wish him well and hope that everything works all right with him.
Yeah, that's all we can do is really wish him the best. Just hope these results show up something that's not so serious as we perhaps all might be fearing for him. He's a young man. They can do wonderful things these days. So it's just hope that they discover what it is. It's a reasonably easy fix, and getting back into doing what we know he loves to do and does best. So yeah, talks are with him.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So there was some Bellator fights earlier this week, but I purposely didn't ask you to watch them, simply because I'm a bit irritated by what Bellator are doing a bit, and it's only my personal opinion. So I could personally be wrong. I've got no desire to watch the Pitbull brothers main event these shows, and I don't mean any disrespect to them, but I want to see Bellator building some new stars. I did watch the Aaron Pico fight. I thought he was very impressive. That's not a massive surprise. He's an impressive athletic man. I'm just a little bit frustrated with what Bellator are doing at the moment. However, I will kind of caveat that with saying their recent signings, such as Brett Johns and Khabib's brother and Mashmov, which there's a few they've signed recently that maybe, and we did touch on this a little bit last week. They've re-signed Lewis Long. They do seem to be looking to maybe focus on younger fighters, and that's ultimately what I want to see. Because when you look at the young stars which the UFC has brought in and built this year, that's one of the good things that has come out of 2020. And we saw another few yesterday. Chaos Williams and Corey McKenna, to name a couple. They've done Sean Strickland won for the second time in a couple of weeks. They've built some incredible stars this year. When towards the back end of 2019, you started to look at it and you were thinking, well, McGregor's lost a few times. He's also seems as if he's on his way out. Khabib's going to retire at some point. A lot of their draws, your Daniel Cormier's, people like this, John Jones, were all at the latter half of their career, if not with one foot out the door. And then suddenly 2020, they've really upped their game, really brought in these stars. You've got Chimaev, you've got, Modestas has had a couple of fights. You've had Jack Shaw, you've had the two, Corey McKenna and numerous other guys over the last couple of weeks. Ultimately, that's what you've got to do, is build new stars and make people care about them. And I think the UFC have given me probably 10 fighters that I genuinely have an interest of following now and really keeping an eye on closely. And then you've got people like Mason Jones going to be coming in very shortly. And a lot of the people which I mentioned there, the British guys, there's a lot of guys from other countries who I'm also interested in, but I've just obviously, as a Welshman, a British man, I tend to focus more on them. Do you think Bellator could do a better job, mate? Around the young talent.
I've got to say, for the last numerous years, they've allowed UFC to really eclipse their efforts, really. Always before, Bellator was always that alternative other watch. But I feel like sometimes, for the real serious watcher, I don't think they watch it that closely. I think maybe they check up on the results, but I don't know whether they have any really serious viewers. I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously they have still a lot of people. Yeah, still have a lot of people watching it, but I feel like they must have dropped off. For challenging UFC for, a lot of their viewing. I'm just not liking their approach. I haven't done for a good few years. It's going down.
We discussed that
funny route.
That's like circus approach to booking fights, and almost like they're going for that freak show appeal, like the celebrities or the wrestlers or the guys who used to be big, like your Rampage Jacksons and people like this. But like I said, the signings of Khabib's brother and Brett Johns in particular really caught my eye, because we discussed Brett Johns is on a streak in UFC. He's only lost to the very, very top guys. Maybe the UFC undervalued him, and Bellator didn't. So you've got to give him tremendous credit for that. But I looked at that card on Thursday, and outside of the Aaron Pico fight, I had little to no interest in it. And I feel bad for some of the guys and girls on there because I don't think I'm the only person who feels like that. I also don't think that it helps that it's on like a Thursday or like just like a random day in the week. It makes it a bit more difficult for people to, you know, to watch basically. I did want to discuss something else with you very briefly, and actually I think I'm going to show it to you because I don't know if you've seen it. Did you see the bare knuckle boxing 3-second knockout last night?
Wow, 3 seconds. No, I did not see that.
Have a little look at this. Sorry to the audio viewers. So I noticed it earlier. There was bare knuckle boxing last night, and it was like it was on the MMA Junkie, so I'll bring it up on there now. But it was just unbelievable, mate. Just 3 seconds, just boom. And I think even in any combat sport, 3 seconds is so quick. Like when you think like that famous Conor McGregor Jose Aldo knockout, like that's so quick, but they still circle each other a little bit. And do you know what I mean? There's always a little bit of touch gloves or something. Like 3 seconds feels like there's not even time to touch gloves.
I'm surmising they just like walked towards each other and through from the get-go.
Yeah, it's balmy, mate. I will bring it up now. Right, we go. They did touch gloves. Okay, here we go. I don't know if you can see that properly.
Oh, he ran right at him.
That's incredible, isn't it? So they touch gloves, bang, gone. Really good. It's impressive as hell. But I thought that was quite interesting. And I know we've covered some boxing in the past on this show. We like to, it's the fight show. Kell Brook fought Terence Crawford last night. No one gave Kell Brook too much of a chance. Terence Crawford's a great fighter. Kell Brook, I thought, I've seen the highlights of it. He started off well, sat behind his jab, but ultimately Terence Crawford brought it home and stopped him, or the referee stopped it. But Terence Crawford is a special fighter. I felt like it was a little bit of a mismatch, but I obviously, as a Brit, I wanted Kell Brook to win, but it was finished after 4 rounds. Kell Brook started really well, like I said, sat behind his jab, and Terence Crawford just took him apart after that. And the referee, the referee stopped it, but just before he stopped it, he gave a knockdown where Kell Brook, I think it was a right hook, got hit. But because the ropes in boxing are so high, he kind of fell against the ropes. So the ref gave it as a knockdown. He probably would have gone down then. And then I do wonder whether he'd have got back up from it, because it was a big shot. But he did, and he stayed in it for a little bit longer, but the referee did stop it after that. So big congratulations to Terence Crawford. And as the really big fights come in boxing, we'll cover those in the show, of course, like the Joshuas of the world and the Furies of the world, or if there's some friends of the show, we'll get them on as well. But in the meantime, let's switch our attention to the UFC of last night. Nothing on the pre-show of note, mate. Anything catch your eye off that? Tony Gravity beat Geraldo de Freitas by split decision. Oh, the Rhys Mckee fight, of course, that was on the pre-show.
I watched that.
Talk me through it, mate.
I mean, Moreno, he's really tenacious. I mean, everything he throws hard as he can. He kind of reminds me of Dan Henderson a little bit, with the way that he throws his looping punches. He throws it with true abandonment. It's not too fussed if someone wants to, back out of the striking and try and take him down. He's got great takedown defense. He's a really good wrestler as well. Rhys Mckee, he made a good account of himself. He just lacked a little bit of establishment. And when I say establishment, he's got that height and he had a considerable reach advantage. He really should have stuck behind a jab for a little bit and try to have something to build off of with that and try and make his physicality, his unusual body composition in comparison to Moreno. But he didn't. I think he just had so much to prove. he was really trying to tuck in. Now, the big mistake that Rhys Mckee seemed to repeatedly make was every time he threw his right hand, he would have his head move out of body line. So his head moved so far over to his left as he threw his right hand. He left his head in there to be tagged up, Morano. But what a chin and what a tenacious fire Rhys Mckee proved to be. I mean, he's a real young lad and not afraid to mix it up and trade toe to toe. But I just feel like he was just trying too hard to make an impression after what happened to him in his debut, outing. But he'll learn from it. I did think that he could have beat this guy. I really do. I think he's got the style to win, but I just think he got carried away with.
He got the tactics wrong, maybe.
Yeah. He just went about it the wrong way. He kind of went toe to toe with someone that can really bang and also showed really good cardio. I mean, they both really went at it. Both true athletes in every sense of the word, and it was really good viewing. But I was just like, shaking my head all the time, like, and tutting under my breath with little frustration. Rhys Mckee just wasn't making his physical attributes, which is that height and reach, count against a fighter where it really could have been the difference between winning and losing. And he chose to trade, and he come off worse with it. A bit of a shame, but let's not write Rhys Mckee off. He's going to be learning on the job at this new level. He definitely belongs there. We just got to look ahead at the next opponent that he's got and hope that he strategises and gets his tactics a little bit more sound, which I think he will adjust and do.
Yeah, I thought he showed enough that he wasn't like out of his depth or outclassed or I just thought he was soundly maybe beaten, but more because of I felt the same as you in that I felt if he had sat behind his jab and used his distance, maybe tried to set up like a head kick or something like that. Just I didn't feel that he used his reach advantage and his height advantage as best he could. But I thought Alex Morano did a good job on him. But Rhys played into his hands a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, Morano was impressive. He really was. I got to say.
Sorry, mate. I was going to ask you a quick question. From Alex Morano's point of view, do you think if this fight had been done from distance at all times, he'd have been a lot more uncomfortable with it?
Yeah, because those winging shots were landing. Would have whizzed past a lot more. So, the scorecard would have started looking a lot different. I just think Rhys Mckee should have been sticking behind his jab, getting himself ahead on the scorecard at the beginning of each round. So Morano had to, swing and constantly clinch up. It becomes more predictable what he's got to do. So you can kind of fight plan a little bit easier round on round. Rhys Mckee should have had that jab going, then get the jab cross going. Every now and then go, flurry in the pocket, but and then use that side-to-side footwork. He's got good footwork. He's got really good form. He just went about the fight the wrong way against the wrong type of guy.
In the first round, in the middle part of the first round, he started to sit behind his jab and fight from a distance. And then all of a sudden he went in, he like darted in a bit closer, almost as if he was looking to try and finish it when it probably wasn't quite there. But the middle 2 minutes of the first round, when it was done from a distance, Rhys actually looked quite comfortable, just sat behind his jab. Morano was kind of doing these kind of teep kicks from through the middle. But out of the two, Rhys looked more comfortable. But then as the fight's gone on, it's become a bit more... the one part where I thought, Rhys had a real opportunity to take over the fight, and it even looked like it could have led to something that could have been as much as a stoppage, was when he body shotted him. I can't remember. Was it in the mid second round or third round? I can't quite remember now which round it was in. But he body shotted Morano, and Morano looked really troubled by it. But then the gum shield come out and fell down the side of the cage. Yeah, and just gave him a little bit of time to recover.
Yeah, it just happened at a wrong time because he kind of like got the wind out of Morano and was really on the attack, where Morano was looking a little bit more laboured with those wild shots of his. But unusual situation when the gum shield went down the side of the cage, and they both had a chance to recover. So yeah, that was in the third round. I think that had happened, but let's just look past that. It's another big experience for Rhys Mckee in the bank. It wasn't a bad performance by any stretch, but I'm sure when he looks back, he'll be like, why didn't I just do this a little bit more, a little bit of that, a little bit more? And big learning curve for him.
Yeah, and of course, look, as two British guys, we're focusing on Rhys and Rhys's performance and things he's done well, things he's not done well. It's just our opinion. Obviously, I think Morano is a very, very good fighter. And I thought he really showed that as well. Both tough guys, both physically so much stamina and proper athletes. But I think Rhys Mckee showed enough in this fight, because obviously in the Chimaev fight he had no chance of showing anything because it was over so quickly, and he had no offense. I thought in this fight he showed enough that he wasn't overawed, he wasn't out of his depth or anything like that. Was all he was just beaten by the better man on the night, shall we say? Yeah.
Morano's an experienced guy. I'm sure he was loving it that Rhys was going toe to toe with him. That's just exactly where he flourishes, and he was nailing the takedowns as well, which just showed that little bit of more diversity. With his approach, he had a little bit more going for him. It's going to be interesting because he's been in UFC a while, hasn't he?
Morano, I think he's been in a bit. I've looked now, but in the meantime, was there anything else on the
what was the other ones? I think I watched them all. I watched which one were on the prelims? I watched that Ronda Marcos versus that Murata, that wrestler. That was an interesting match. That Murata looks really, really good. Lovely leg on leg trips. She would shoot in predominantly with a wrestling approach, looking for the body clinches, but then use that judo style with the leg trips, outside leg tricks, inside leg trips. Really was impressive. I liked what Marcus was doing. She was doing the right idea. She was obviously trying to avoid being clinched up and taken down, and was showing some game off her back as well. But the rounds unfortunately were just each one was slipping away from her just because of these really, really clever takedowns. So going to be super interesting to see how that Murata does in her future battles, because she looks a difficult customer. She's got enough about her with her striking, but it's just trying to fend off those takedowns. They come in combination, and she's really clean with them as well. It's not like she any times that she wasn't able to get Marcus down, it wasn't like she used loads of energy and then fouled and looked a little debilitated afterwards. The takedown attempts were so efficient that she just didn't tire. She just kept going at it, and inevitably Marcus was put to the canvas each time. Really, really impressed me. I think there's a real future with this lady.
Yeah, I think so. Morano's been in the UFC since 2016.
Yes,
he was coming off a loss he lost to Chaos Williams, who we obviously saw later in the night at UFC 247. Before that, he beat Max Griffin. So he lost to Nico Price, but then it was overturned. So anyone who gets a win over Max Griffin is
they're good.
Got something about them, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Obviously, Chaos Williams is on a tear, as we'll discuss in a minute. But impressive though, and I thought I enjoyed all the prelim fights. They were they all went to decision, which is unusual. No finishes, but
who else was on the preliminaries? Because I think I watched.
So we had Murato versus Marcos, Tony Gravely versus Geraldo de Freitas.
Oh yeah, that was the other one. I mean, that Gravely's wrestling. I mean, that was just beautiful. Really fast, super low doubles, and great combinations to go to the back. I mean, that Freitas, is that how you say his name?
De Freitas.
His striking looks proper dangerous, dangerous. And Tony Gravely had to really be on song to nail those repeated takedowns attempts. But when forced to, Tony Gravely was, he's trading in the pocket, doing well for himself in the striking too. But always his intention was to shoot and get Freitas down, and he did. And that Gravely really impressed me. He fought only a little while ago as well, didn't he? I think
Tony Gravely,
some of these fighters are getting in there quite quick, especially what with Sean Strickland as well. He only fought a few weeks back.
Yeah, that's his second win in 14 days.
Yeah. Tony Gravely, I'm sure he fought recently, didn't he? It's been so many fights we covered now. It's
difficult
hard to keep track of
who's fighting who. He hasn't got a Wikipedia page, which is so like.
Yeah, but that Tony Gravely, he had to fend off some really good submission attempts off that Freitas. Freitas is sort of like had the striker.
He fought Brett Johns in.
That's right. Yes,
He fought Brett Johns in January, so it's quite a way away.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you remember, we said in that his wrestling was superb against Brett.
Yeah,
Brett was very good that night after a long break. But yeah, Geraldo de Freitas striking.
Yeah, he's good. He did, and his ground's good as well, as we know. And Tony Gravely had to deal with some difficult situations really, because he's fighting someone predominantly better striker and predominantly a better grappler. So really, Tony Gravely had to really use his wrestling and kind of just spoil the jiu-jitsu and take what strikes he could at the right times, but it was always a dangerous affair. To me, it just looked like Tony Gravely was always on edge where he could have lost at any moment. But just had to keep himself together, and he did keep himself together, and he had confidence in that wrestling, and never looked like he was going to buckle or fade, which has really impressed me. But they both impressed me, to be honest, and I'm sure we would be seeing more of these two in the coming years.
Indeed. So the first fight of the main card was Corey McKenna, Welsh lady, versus Kay Hansen, two hot prospects in the UFC. What did you make of this fight? I thought it was a good little fight.
Yeah, it was a good little fight. Really close. It was really hard to know who was winning that first round. It really, really close. They both had their times putting each other up against the fence. And both of them were really super impressive in that open pocket, where they was trading shots. Very rarely did one ever throw strikes with one backing off and then the other throwing strikes backing off, which happens so often with men, because obviously the men can pack so much more power. They don't trade in the pocket as often as these girls do. But that open pocket work was really, really impressive. They never really went to a clinch up to look to strike there, other than up against the fence. That stuff away from the fence was all pocket work and really, really impressive. They're just both willing to trade.
But McKenna's hands were really, really quick. She had some nice combinations, particularly early on in that first round, some really quick hands. And it looked like in the early part of the first round, Hansen was loading up a little bit with her strikes, maybe trying to look for that sort of quick finish to sort of settle, really make an impression in this sort of fight between two prospects. Whereas McKenna looked a bit more settled. She had some couple of nice two or three punch combinations really quickly, and then she had her up against the cage in the clinch. But as the fight went on, like you say, they both very often just were happy to sit in that pocket and trade. No backing away.
I mean, I slightly gave it the edge to McKenna with the striking overall, which I think is why Hansen was choosing to clinch up and try and get to the ground. Now, McKenna's just got to improve her takedown defense a little bit more, and maybe her scramble ups a little bit more. But the lucky thing was she had an opportunity to create reversals on Hansen, and also Hansen fell off of McKenna's back, which put her on her back, and it just seemed to me like McKenna just had that extra intent when she had that top position, more so than Hansen did, and I think that's what edged it for the judges really. She just looked like she was grafting the whole time, no matter where it was. She was chipping and working the whole time, and I think that's what initially gave it the edge for her.
Yeah, she just kept going and going, didn't she? Corey McKenna, like there was no respite for Hansen at any point. And that's probably another reason why she's going in for that clinch all the time, because not only is she probably losing the striking battle, but also McKenna's just non-stop. She's not. There's no break for her. But I thought both were pretty impressive ultimately. I thought Hansen showed enough to say that she's got something to offer in upcoming fights. But for two girls making their UFC debut, I think for Corey McKenna as well, Welsh girl coming over to the US, she's just looking for that win in that debut fight, just to bring it home, as it were.
She didn't look put off by the fact that, hey, this is UFC. She was in there and she just looked like she was having a heavy sparring session. She looked really, really good. But like I say, it wasn't a perfect performance. The takedown defense needs a little bit of work. Maybe some of the scramble ups need a little bit of work. But yeah, she did good.
Bit of sharpening up on those.
Yeah,
ground skills.
None of us have a perfect game. We're all striving for that perfection. But yeah, she has got a few little areas that can and will need to be better if she wants to move on up. She's a young girl, tenacious and clearly intelligent, because she strategized really well in this fight overall. And I'm sure we're going to see more things and better things from her.
Indeed. Next up, Sean Strickland with Brendan Allen. Sean Strickland, like we mentioned, back in the cage in the second time in 14 days.
Yeah.
No, can't fault his grind, I'll tell you that much.
No, he had to work hard in this one. We know Brendan Allen just comes at it, doesn't he? He just comes forward. His striking actually looked really good, Brendan Allen, but he was just getting tagged up. And I think it's partly because Strickland was punching a little bit more unusual than a normal pedigree striker. So most of the time when people are striking, they're moving their head off centre line, so they get more of their body mass behind the shots. But he was just digging in from the shoulders. Now that did consequentially leave his head smack bang on centre line, and Brendan Allen was getting some success rocking Strickland's head back. But he just kept on driving and working forward. I think because he was punching just with the shoulders, just digging his shoulders into the arm shots, it was an efficient way of striking for him, and he's able to keep ploughing them in. Now, Brendan Allen, he hurt Strickland's leg, and if he wanted to turn things around, he should have targeted that a little bit more than he did. I think sometimes he was getting drawn into this hands battle a little bit too much. I think because maybe he was getting tagged up, he wanted to tag Strickland up in return. It's just like sometimes when you get a leg kick, someone wants to leg kick you back. I feel like he got caught into. He fell into a trap of trying to fight out the hands too much. I think if he landed a few more consequential leg kicks, Strickland couldn't have come forward as much as he did with those hands that led to the finish. So both initially were pretty impressive, but come on, Strickland's second fight in a couple of weeks, that's super impressive. This guy's moving on up fast.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of Sean Strickland. Obviously, he beat Jack Marshman last time out. Before that, he beat Talib, so he's on a 3-fight win streak. He beat Court McGee and Tom Breese previous to that, but then he lost to Usman and Zaleski dos Santos in between that. And let's not forget, in 2018, he was hit by a car while he was riding a motorcycle, and
that's right.
He was unconscious with really serious injuries. Really, he needed knee surgery and all this. So to come back and fight at such a high level, and to show the stamina and physical stamina, for lack of a better word, as well. Like not just his fitness, but like the damage and the shots that he's capable of taking and keep going. He's just non-stop. And I thought he was pretty impressive against Jack. It went to a unanimous decision, but I thought he was really good.
It was like he was going out for a training run or something. He just paced himself with it. He didn't have to overexert himself, even though it went the distance. I felt like this fight, even though he got the finish, he had to work really hard to get it. It was but that
performance of the night as well for this. This fight,
absolutely deservingly. It was a good fight to watch. It really was. From both points of view, really. That both did some good things, but there was one victor. And,
indeed.
So
Sean Strickland picked up the victory via TKO strikes. The referee stopped it as Strickland pounced on an already rocked Allen with strikes against the cage. And that was all she wrote.
Yeah.
Next up was Ashley Yoder versus Miranda Granger, with Yoder picking up the victory via unanimous decision. I haven't seen this one. This is the one fight I haven't seen on the main card, so I'll leave this one to you. What did you make of it?
Yeah, this one I actually enjoyed. There was quite a bit of ground work going on. So you had Yoder, who's more wrestling based, and Granger was clearly wanted it with the striking. Now Yoder did look really vulnerable in the striking. When she was getting hit, she looked like she could get put out. If it was going to land. Pete, she looked a little stagnant with her head, not really having a solid form. She clearly just needed and wanted that clinch, but she got there, and she did some takedowns which were not the best for the ground exchanges. So she was using a head and arm takedown, which wasn't enabling her to consolidate a top position very well. And a couple of times she got herself reversed, but she kind of got out of that by going for a knee bar situation. So it's really in some unusual positions on the ground because of the way and the choices that she was doing the takedowns. But Yoder, she did this numerous times where she got it to the ground, created some of these unusual positions, but she was getting it where she was most effective. And Granger just was unable to stay on the feet long enough, although she had her moments on the ground as well. But in that third round, which was going to be a real decisive factor on who was going to win, because you could argue it was going to be 1-1 going into that third round, Yoder managed to get a top position working from half guard and side control and mount. And Granger just looked like she was getting too tired to get out of the positions. So, well done to Yoder. She's definitely got things to improve on if she's going to make an impact in the weight division. That strike has definitely got to be addressed, and working on her form and confidence. It didn't look like she was that confident. It looked like she was going in there with really one tool set, and that was to wrestle, get it to the ground, and try and find a ways to win on there. Went to the decision, but because it went to the ground as often as it did, Yoder come out with the victory, and well done to her. But definitely things to work on. Yeah,
100%. And right at the end, the saved by the bell a little bit in that last round.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's getting really sticky for Granger. Yeah, I got the sense as well. Granger, you could almost see in a persona that she felt like, hey, I should beat this girl. But it just didn't play out well for her. She should have definitely been avoiding that clinch a little bit better than she did. So if there's anything to take from her, there's a little bit of distance awareness in terms of not distance for being struck, but distance for being clinched up. She just allowed that clinch too often, too frequent, and it put her on the ground. And eventually, that physicality advantage that I felt that she had over Yoder began to wane. She began to get physically tired. It wasn't her comfort zone, whereas it was Yoder's comfort zone. So she got to pace herself as the match went on, and to her advantage as well.
Indeed. But two good fighters. Be interested to see where they go next, mate.
Yeah.
Next up was Chaos Williams defeating Abdul Razak Al Hassan via KO in 30 seconds. Much to this, but Chaos Williams, we talked about how impressive he has looked last week when we did our predictions, and he was no less.
No, that's right. And we saw that Al Hansen fight. I think he was an underdog in the other fight that he had, but he won in recent months, didn't he? Sort of got drafted in, and he looked really good. He had solid leg kicks on him, and I thought this was going to be a real good tear up. But Chaos Williams, he has a face expression like he's there to kill, and he landed and knocked him out. I mean, you see the legs lock out of Al Hansen. As he tumbled back, his legs went rigid. So there was no recovery from that shot. What else can we say about this fight, really? I mean, they traded off a few leg kicks to each other, which is becoming a common thing to feel each other out before trading the hands. But as soon as the hands come into the equation, Al Hansen was put firmly on his butt, and it was game over for him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with Chaos Williams next, because obviously he's had a very impressive couple of
Yeah.
victories. He's looked very, very good, and he's
11-1. That's getting an impressive
highlight reel as well, which always helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, there was another one. Was this on the main card? Myers, was that Myers on the Martinez? Was that on the main card?
No, I think that was later down. I think that was on the pre-show, maybe.
Because that's one that I watched and actually really enjoyed, which I think should be spoke about. Don't know whether you saw it.
So is that Don'Tale Mayers versus Roque Martinez?
Yeah.
Go on and tell us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Mayers really, really impressed me. They're really different body compositions. Martinez, you've seen fight before. He's got really good boxing. It doesn't look athletic at all, but this guy comes with cardio and he's really fearless in the pocket. But he had a difficult opponent this time around, being that Martinez is 5'10" and he's up against someone in Myers at 6'6". So they had, huge physical differences, and it was all a case of can Martinez push close and get his hand combinations off, and could Mayers, who is pretty much seen as a striker too, keep it at range. And Myers just looked really sharp. He strategized really well. Martinez had his moments, but Martinez got put on his back by Mayers. So again, this is where I think Mayers really impressed me. Although he was edging it on the feet with his range, he was also taking it to the ground as well to stop any potential return and kind of taking away the rest of that 5-minute round from him by having some of the top position. Because Martinez, just by the look of him physically, is going to always have to look to get up off his back. He's not going to work from his back. And so I think this was an absolute solid strategy for the fight for Myers. But as those rounds went on, you ended up seeing Martinez actually try and take Myers down and sort of briefly, kind of get him towards the ground. But Myers managed to fault that off. But I just wanted to really just say Myers is definitely going to be one to watch out for. Definitely fights with, he's definitely got some IQ about him, this lad. Really, really sharp striking. He can play long, he can play close. And he's got some takedown capabilities too. I'll be really excited. I think this is someone that's going to be in the mix in the next sort of 2 to 3 fights. He's definitely going to be up there in the mix.
Okay, I will definitely keep a close eye on him then, mate. The next up was the main event of the evening, and that was Paul Felder, who stepped in late. This was for a welterweight. And he faced Rafael dos Anjos in a 5-round war. Final score was split decision, although I think that is ridiculous, but we'll get to that. 48-47, 45-50, 45-50 in dos Anjos. Yeah, but I think he should have been the unanimous victor.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know where that split decision come from. I mean, I just don't know what fight they were seeing. It's
because it could have cost ultimately.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, but this mustn't take from the fact that Felder put up an incredible performance. His striking looked fast and as sharp as I've ever seen it. But Santos come with a really, really solid game plan. Say whether it was a game plan or not, it was a good strategy that he used. They were trading the striking and both of them getting their successes, and it looked really, really edgy. Great viewing. Both again playing pocket, playing distance game very, very well, very, very solidly. But dos Anjos was choosing to take it to the ground, and he just did such a good job of choosing when to take it to the ground and when to clinch up and sort of smother Felder's return. He sort of just edged each round because of it. That really, really impressed me, because one of the faults that I noticed with dos Anjos is that he could get pushed up against the fence so often and have his game kind of spoiled in the way that he actually did this to Felder. But like I say, really, it kind of sums up each and every round, really. They're both striking so crisply. Felder ended up getting a nasty gash on his head, didn't he? But, you see him acknowledge the fact, and I think you heard him say, "Oh damn," or something along those lines. He knew he'd got cut, but it didn't hamper the rest of the match. But dos Anjos showed true all-round capabilities. His striking is still amazing. His IQ was all there in terms of how he went about getting the win over Felder, and he just showed true MMA completion. Great takedowns, great grappling, great striking, great strategy, great everything. This was some of the best I think I've seen Dos Anjos. So yeah, great, brilliant work. I just want to see now. We saw Dos Anjos display really, really good game plan, if that's what it was, if it is all planned to go this way, or in fight IQ, if he just sensed that this is the way he should go about it while he was in there. But he showed great attacking combinations, blending his striking, his wrestling, and his grappling, to make it a complete attacking plan. But what I do want to know is, and what I do want to see is, has he made adjustments to the times that he's had fights taken off him because he has his back put up against the fence? Sometimes he goes back in a straight line and gets kind of wrestle screwed against the fence and put down. Although he's great at scrambling back up, he wastes so much time there having to defend that he's lost fights that I felt like he just shouldn't have lost. It just, I don't know, bad training ethic. I don't know whether he's just like sparring and just not having people push him back and get in there, and it's just not been brought to light. But it happened to him numerous times, and I definitely want to see, as he made those adjustments. So he's not young anymore. He's had fair old amount of hours in the old cage now. Clearly a dedicated athlete, because I don't think gassing has ever been an issue. But nevertheless, he's cracking on with his mileage on the clock now. And I want to see whether he can get up to getting that title again. With the look of that, you get the kind of hint that he could actually get back up into real title contention if he's going to stay down at this weight, because he had a stint up at welterweight, didn't he? But I think lightweight's where it's at. He only stands 5'8". He's not the tallest of guys, even at lightweight. But welterweight, I think he'd be giving away, too much to take away from the advantage of his cardio. So yeah, let's hope he stays down at that lightweight. And let's hope that he's made those adjustments, because you could well see him retain and regain, that title that he once had.
Yeah, I think he's certainly got the skill set for it and the ability. Yeah. Sometimes I think it's been like almost like a psychological thing with him, where maybe his head's not in the game, or he just overthinks things almost and kind of second guesses himself a little bit. But there's no doubting that he has got the all-round ability and technique and skills to go and get a title shot. He also said after the fight that he's fed up of the lightweight fighters picking and choosing their fights rather than just taking the fights that are on offer, basically. Right. Which I found quite interesting. His comments, I think, were probably aimed at some of the guys right at the top who were trying to get super fights rather than just taking the contenders.
Yeah, I just think he's trying to stoke up the bee's nest, so to speak, because he wants to make a quick climb up into contention. Because, like I say, he's kind of floating around a couple of weight divisions, and he's coming back down to that lightweight, where I think he belongs. I think he's the most effective. So yeah, I think he just wants to get grinding straight up into title contention. And with look at these performances, he definitely can. But I really want to talk about
Conor McGregor as well.
Yeah, do you know what I was going to say? That would be a great fight to watch that, because you will see him strike toe to toe with Conor McGregor, but also he will try and take Conor McGregor down to pinch the rounds if it's left looking close. So he's a real complete package. But yeah, that will definitely be a really good fight to watch. Definitely be a good fight to watch. But look, I don't.
Go on. You say I know you want to talk about.
Yeah, Felder. Yeah, and, when I heard that he was going to be retiring, I was kind of like gutted, because I feel like there's still something about him that's he definitely belongs at the top there. Yeah. And when you think that he took this fight on such short notice, and seeing his striking look as sharp as it did, he really impressed me. I just would love to see him fight on a little bit longer. It's all about what's in your heart, but I get the hints that he's got the bug again, and I really hope so, because I enjoy watching him fight every time.
Yeah, going by his comments after the fight, he seems to very much have caught that bug again. And I thought, look, we've talked about various fighters over the last 49 episodes, particularly this year, like about they maybe coming to the end of their careers, or they look like they're shot, or they don't look the same fighter as they have been. Even Anderson Silva the other week, when he retired, probably a few fights too late, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
He is obviously a legend. I don't feel that with Paul Felder. Like, he's ranked number 7, but I feel like he's got a lot to offer. He's a very intelligent guy, which you can tell. I enjoy his commentary as well.
Yeah, me too.
But I thought even last night, I felt like he probably lost every round, but he still showed a lot. Maybe round 4, I think I gave him. I just looking at my notes. Yeah, round 4 I gave to Felder. So even though he was pretty, it was a pretty dominant win by Dos Anjos, I still think Felder showed some unbelievable skills, some unbelievable heart, chin, everything. And I just think that on another day, he could go and fight someone else and do very, very well. He's got a lot to offer. And I hope he sticks to that, not retiring, as opposed to before the fight, there was talk of him maybe being done.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor said that he's in for sure, but only after he's fought Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier has apparently signed the contract for Conor McGregor on January 23rd at UFC 257. Apparently, they're not expecting any issues with McGregor, though.
Right. Yeah, I think Poirier was complaining, wasn't it? Because no contracts were being finalised. I saw something. He was getting a bit frustrated. But yeah, if it's all signed and done now, I'm sure he's feeling a little bit happy and more settled.
He signed it. McGregor hasn't, but from what I read, they're not expecting that to be an issue. It's just,
This could be a little bit of that could be mind games with Conor. I think he knows it's aggravating him, and that's probably Conor playing a little game there.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? At the end of the day, give yourself a little advantage. Just in professional sport, those little advantages are just what can be the difference at the end of the day. So let's have a look at UFC next week for our little predictions. See what we got next week, mate.
Yeah, I'll try and bring it up on here as well.
I know there's some big fights coming up in December, but what have we got?
Yeah, so what's the date of next week? November.
So what are we today? 15th, so 21st or something. 21st. So main event is flyweight title. Two flyweight titles, male and female flyweight titles. UFC 255 next week. So that'll be normally some good fights. Let's bring those up. Get your predictions for these. So I'm going to just double check the prelims first to see if there's any interesting names or fights on there. Shevchenko's sister is fighting Liv Lipsitsky on the main on the prelim. But let's have a look on the main card. So we've got, first of all, Marcio Rua versus Paul Craig.
Yeah, I'm going to go Rua.
I'm going to go with Paul Craig, actually, even though I like both Shogun versus Paul Craig. I'm going to go with Paul Craig. Stick with the Scotsman. And I don't even think he's from Scotland, is he? I know he's British based anyway. But yeah, I think Craig's got enough to give Shogun a bit of trouble. Shogun's get over. It's a massive fight though for him. Massive fight for Craig.
Definitely.
If he can, I know, like Shogun, he's probably in the latter half of his career. At the end of the day, if you can pick up a win against Shogun Rua, it's massive.
Oh yeah, it's a good name to have, chiseled into your record. Absolutely.
Next up, then we've got Caitlin Chikagian versus Cynthia Calvillo. That's going to be a banger. I'm going to go Calvillo though for that one. Yeah, I think Calvillo as well, but I'll go with Chikagian for the sake of competing. And then we've got Mike Perry versus Tim Means. That's going to be an interesting fight.
That is going to be interesting, but I think Tim Means is going to be too well equipped, too well rounded for Mike Perry.
I think if Perry's going to win, it's going to be in the first couple of minutes. After that,
Yeah.
I'm expecting.
Yeah, Tim Means is just too experienced, I think, to fall into that trap. Well, at least I hope so.
Yeah. Next up, then we have Valentina Shevchenko versus Jennifer Maia for the flyweight women's title.
It's hard to bet against Shevchenko, to be honest. She's just so dominant right now.
However,
So
Jennifer
dominant.
Maia is not an easy fight, but I just
no, not at all. She definitely deserves to be in there, but I don't know. It's just hard for me to bet against her.
Yeah. And the main fight then is Figueiredo versus Alex Perez.
Great fight. But Figueiredo's just looking better and better at the minute. It's really looking super sharp. So I'm going to stick with Figueiredo.
Yeah, I was just having a quick look at Shevchenko's record to see when her last loss was, and she hasn't. It's a long time, long time. She lost to Nunes in 2016. And she lost to Nunes in 2017.
That's Shevchenko going up a weight, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So she lost to Nunes twice. She beat Holly Holm comfortably in 5 rounds. She's beaten everyone except Nunes when she's gone up a weight. She beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She beat Jessica Ai. She's beaten some names. So she beat Caitlin Chikagian. So I mean, if Caitlin Chikagian comes in the earlier fight and smashes through with a Cavio, then I think that will bid very well for Valentina later in the fight. Figueiredo versus Alex Perez is a really interesting fight. Figueiredo's just looked, since he's had that shot, just looked unbeatable.
He looks so sharp.
Big fight for Alex Perez. Big fight for a fairly young guy. It's a big opportunity for him. He's ranked 4 now. If he could somehow beat Figueiredo, that's massive because like we said, Figueiredo has just looked dominant since he got that title. But then Perez has beat on his way to a title shot, beat Formiga via TKO in the first round, beat Espinoza via submission in the first round, beat De La Rosa via a decision. He's beaten Benavidez, beat Perez before that, but Perez beat Torres. He's beaten Shelton, so he's beaten some names on the way.
He definitely deserves to be there. I just think Figueiredo's just right now, just on top of the world right now, and it could be hard to topple.
At their peak, like there, it's difficult, isn't it? Interesting. Perez went from the Contender Series 2017 to title shot in 8 fights from Contender Series to title shot. Shows you that if you put together those wins, you got a chance of really, doing something. For Figueiredo is just. I was trying to think, who was the fight we watched? The last fight he had. Which we watched, Benavidez. He beat by
he's beaten 2 times in a row. Second time around, he utterly ran through him. Yeah,
he submitted him in like 12 seconds, didn't he?
Yeah.
But the first fight, he went a couple of rounds. But before that, he beat Elliott. And before that, he beat Pantoja. And he beat Formiga. Oh, no, Formiga beat him. So Formiga's
the only loss he's had.
Formiga's beaten Figueiredo. That's interesting. But that was end of 2000 or middle of 2019. Since then, he's been on a tear, and I think I agree with you. Like, we watched which one was it? It must have been. I'm sure I watched him versus Pantoja, and he beat him via a decision. He looked good. That was at the end of 2019, and then we've watched him twice this year, in February and July, where he beat Benavidez twice, and he just looked another level, didn't he? Even to someone
Yeah.
like Benavidez, who's no mug. So, yeah, be looking forward to it, mate. It's going to be really interesting.
Yes, it's good fights.
Good card all around, and Shevchenko's younger sister's fighting on the prelims, which that'll be interesting just to see how she is, how she gets on. I've not seen her fight before. She got a tough fight though. She's fighting Ariane Lipski, who's a Brazilian. She's got a 13-5 record. She's got a she got a 55% win ratio. Like she's not.
And her sister, she ain't had many fights, has she? How many she had?
She's 8-2 as professional.
Yeah.
I don't think she's
not as many.
I don't know if she's fought many times in the UFC or if that's her UFC record. Let's have a quick look. Right, so she lost to Caitlin Chikagi last time out via decision, and before that she beat Pudilova in 2019. So she's only had 3. Let's look. There you go. So she beat Pudilova in 2019 August. In April of 2019, she lost to Modafferi. So she has lost a couple, but she beat Kim before that via decision. So she's been in UFC. She's 3-2. So she's had an up and down little run.
Yeah.
But, she's not like younger sister, just coming up. She's ranked 15. She's got a fair, she's had 10 professional fights, but not loads, is it?
Not loads, but it's enough to definitely forge your direction on how you go about each fight when you're approaching them. So you should have enough there to know the ways to win against any given opponent.
Spot on, mate. And that's us for today. No guest means a bit shorter, but that's that's okay. Always nice. So next week we'll have UFC 255. Sure, we'll have some sort of guest with us. But in the meantime, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ace Podcast Nation, youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Follow the show at Danny Batten FS on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, you can download the audio versions of the various podcast and radio platforms. But we'll be back next week for another roundup of the MMA news and results. Until then, bid you farewell. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Defending champion, welcome